So the Cowboys go bargain shopping for an edge rusher. The name here is Arden, former LSU defensive end. Now, Vegas made him a third-round pick in 2018. However, he never emerged as the sack artist that they were hoping. He then landed in San Francisco, and he became a valuable rotational piece of their pass rush.
Dude, I remember him, and they started moving him up and down the line of scrimmage a little bit, having him rush from the interior.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we remember it in the playoff game there. So I think there's some definite value there in a guy like Arden Key. He's shown the versatility to kind of play up and down the line. A valuable pass rusher. I think that would be a fun name to kick around.
Especially with Pro Football Focus projecting a modest 2-year, $12.5 million deal for him in free agency.
Yeah, that'd be one I'd say sign me up for, man.
Yep. All of his sack production came in the final 10 games. He had 6.5 sacks, 19 pressures, only played 35% of the defensive snaps there in San Francisco. But, I mean, you're looking at hopefully with Randy back, a rotational player as well here. And I like that. I'm definitely interested. Now, they say his best fit could be with the New York Jets, but I could see the Cowboys maybe being interested in that as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of his production really skyrocketed when they started using him more in passing situation as an interior kind of rusher. You have to wonder, hey, that Niners pass rush was so dominant, you can't focus on Arden Key if you're having to block the Niners. There's Bosa, there's Armstead, there's all these other guys. And so, how much did he benefit from that? And we know the Cowboys don't have that type of defensive line, that type of pass rush. So he would become more of a focal point for opposing offensive lines, accounting for him. And so how would that adjustment go? But again, you're talking about bargain bin shopping. You're not signing him to a massive deal where you need this guy to go get you 12 sacks or something, but I do think he would be an interesting piece to kick around, again, for the clearance rack.
Now, here's a defensive lineman, and this would be an interior defensive lineman. As we know, the Cowboys are in need here, and this could be definitely a position that they target via free agency. We've mentioned Fatukasi, the defensive tackle from the Jets. We talked about him last year even as a potential maybe trade candidate. He's a free agent, and I like Fatukasi quite a bit. He's a good one-tech run defender. But another name, Larry Ogun Joby from the Bengals, okay? So they brought him back last year on a 1-year, $6.2 million deal, and he had a hell of a year. He started 16 games for the Bengals. They rested their starters in the season finale, so that's why he didn't play all 17. 49 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 24 quarterback pressures. From an interior defensive lineman, I think that's pretty darn stout. He's a good run stuffer and an interior pressure player. So you're getting 2 and 1 there. And he was not available for the Super Bowl because he suffered an injury in the wild card round and ended up on IR. It was a foot injury, so he's expected to be fine for this coming season. But because of that, once again, he can be a low-budget kind of home run free agent addition. The Bengals are rumored to want to bring him back because he was really good and thrived alongside DJ Reader last season. But $6 to $7 million a year for a guy who could be a potential Pro Bowler and is an up-and-coming player, I like the idea of a Larry Ogun Joby.
Yeah, I would just be, what's that injury like? What's the deal with that? A big guy with a lower extremity injury can be a little bit concerning, but he did have a really good season. So, and I'm all about the Cowboys need to do a great job of bolstering the trenches this offseason, both sides of the ball. So that's definitely a name that I'd be interested in as well.
And linebacker Anthony Walker Jr. from the Browns is a name that they throw out there. And they mentioned there's several off-ball linebackers in free agency. You've got Devondre Campbell, who was incredible for the Packers last year. Leighton Vander Esch is a free agent. KJ Wright, who's a little bit older but a big name. But Browns linebacker Anthony Walker Jr. could set the bar just from a pure value standpoint, according to Bleacher Report. So he played on a team-friendly 1-year, $3 million deal last year. Look at this for production. 113 tackles, 69 solo.
Nice.
2 passes defended. So he's a really good second-level run defender with speed, which the Cowboys could utilize, and he's athletic enough to cover tight ends, and he's only 26 years old. So he's projected to earn a salary of about $4 million annually. If you're looking to bring in a linebacker via free agency, to me, this is a guy to look into. Anthony Walker Jr. Now, they're saying best fit the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bleep you, Pittsburgh. Get in line. I want me some Anthony Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now he's a little bit, from my understanding, slightly undersized in a way that has him getting bullied by interior offensive linemen. And the Browns didn't do a ton to help him from that standpoint. But he is a really, really good player, and my favorite part about him is aesthetically. He wore number 4 last year.
He did.
It looked badass.
Yeah, he does look like a badass. He wears the uniform well. Now, there's 2 Cowboys on this list that are the best bargain for their position group in free agency.
Ooh, I want to guess. Who is going to be that guy? Cedric Wilson.
Cedric Wilson at wide receiver. And he's the guy that I really want to re-sign. Okay, I love Cedric Wilson. I think Cedric Wilson can do a lot for you. I think he can play inside. He can play outside. We saw his ability when it comes to the trick plays and throwing the football. You know, he's a guy that market value, according to Spotrac, projects as $6.4 million. Okay, and I just think, I mean, you talk about a rapport with Dak Prescott. If you're looking to save money yet bring back a guy who you know is good, I think Cedric Wilson's that guy, especially if they part with Amari Cooper. All right, he had a career-high 45 receptions, 602 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And when he was targeted, Dak had 130.6 quarterback rating when throwing to Cedric Wilson.
Not bad.
So they say the Jags as a best fit, bleep them. I think he needs to come right on home and play with the Dallas Cowboys.
Have the Jags not learned who was the receiver that Tony Romo got super paid?
Laurent
Robinson. Like, yeah, Cedric Wilson, solid player. If he's your number 2, okay. If he's your number 3, you feel like $1 million. The Jaguars would sign him to a massive deal, try to make him their number 1 wide receiver, and it would be a failure of all failures. So if that's the case, good for them. That's going to be a huge bummer, but good for him because he gets paid. He is a guy that I would like for the Cowboys to keep.
I'd really like to bring Ced back. Who do you think the second Cowboy is?
Yeah, so that's the one that I'm trying to figure out right now. It is is it an offensive player, or is this one on the defensive side of the ball?
I mean, I think that narrows it down pretty easily.
Okay, well then don't tell me. I think Dalton Schultz is going to get money. I mean, Randy Gregory's not going to be bargain. I don't think I think Connor Williams is probably going to get some decent money as well. So I'm like, who is it one of these? Is it one of these KZ or Malik Hooker kind of dudes?
Not KZ or Malik Hooker.
It's not one of the safeties. It's not Leighton Vander Esch.
It's not Leighton Vander Esch. You might have been in the right area. You just didn't say the right name.
So it's one of these safeties. Is it Jaron Kearse?
Jaron Kearse. And they do say best fit for the Cowboys. And I agree. I just don't think Jaron Kearse is going to get a crazy contract.
I don't think it's going to be crazy.
I think it's going to be a good value. 3 years, $15 million is what he's projecting.
Oh, my God. That is a no-brainer.
He's had one good year.
Sure.
I could see it. You know, I don't think he's a guy that's going to break the bank for you. And I think it's a no-brainer re-sign for the Cowboys. And he seems like it's a no-brainer re-sign with the Cowboys because when Sean and RJ had him on, one of the things that we loved about the interview was he was talking about basically already being back here next year. Like, it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, the way he was speaking with them, it felt like a guy who had every intention of coming back. I think the Cowboys have every intention of bringing him back, especially with Dan Quinn still in the fold. That's just, I mean, what a great duo that ended up being. Jaron Kearse and Dan Quinn. And so, yeah, I guess that would be kind of a bargain deal if that's what it's going to be. In my mind, I just, knowing how good he was last year, if you knew he was going to play like he did last year, you'd be willing to give him much more than 3 years for $15 million. But as you mentioned, been in the league for a few years, and that's his only good season.
Right. And so it would still be a big raise for him. He made $1.1 million last year in a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. So you go from 1.1 to 5. He's definitely, for him, that's a big increase.
That's how you sell it to him. Hey, man, you made 1 last year. 5's got to sound real good, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess you're right.